Thank you very much, Samir. Our next speaker, who's going to talk to us about strategic cost control, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody whom I know for the last about 4 years. Anand Soni is currently the Group CFO of BAFCO Group. He's a seasoned senior finance professional. I know him as a very dynamic presenter, and he's conducted a lot of corporate trainings and programs on finance, commercial, and general management. His experience cuts across manufacturing, contracting, property, real estate, retail trading, investment, and stock brokerage, and he's worked with some of the largest business houses in this part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please put our hands together to welcome Mr. Anand Soni.
So I said it's very passionate. I'm very passionate about this topic because thrice in my career I've handled this topic. And twice I've been successful as a champion. And once I failed also. Now we all know someone who has seen success in an area and someone who has seen failure in that area. He's the best to tell you what is right, what is wrong. And therefore, this topic I'm in love with. All right? So let's move. The moment you talk about strategic cost control, the first thing comes, it won't happen. It cannot happen. Oh, it's too difficult a process. Needs a lot of mindset. And that is what this says. Very interesting. For many people, change is a scary journey into the unknown. And many people don't like to change. Because change is the most difficult thing which anyone would accept. Many people know what they need to do it to improve for their health, but few behave accordingly. 90% want to change, but only 25% ever do anything about it. To put it simply, what is it? It just tells you that if you want to do a cost control successful exercise in your organization, as a CFO, as a champion who's running the process, you yourself have to have an intense will to succeed. Because if you don't have the will to succeed, you can't do this. And by the way, you need will, a winning attitude in life to do anything, regardless of the professional work. So therefore, the first point, if you want to have a successful cost implementation, is to have a mindset. And that's where I think as a CFO, we have a lot to look for. So in the next half an hour, I'll take you through the practical aspects of what I handled, what is cost reduction. There are some myths attached to cost control. And I'll also take you through a case study, which will give you some numbers here, why it succeeded. And the most important part of my presentation would be why cost controls fail. Very critical, why cost controls fail. So here we go. Myths on cost control. And I'll keep using my anecdotes as well in the process. Cost control means, first myth, cost control means cost reduction. The moment the CFO says, look, I want cost control, the first thing is he wants to reduce cost full. The moment you go for cost control, operations will get hurt, employees will get demotivated. Oh, come on, you're going to reduce my travel expense bill? I can't perform. That's something which you all hear whenever this sort of cost control exercise is done. Cost control cannot succeed. It's a theoretical concept. Come on, come out of it. And the most important, and this I've heard many times myself, CFO who's driving the cost control is negative, doesn't understand business. He's a bookkeeper. He may have 20 years experience behind him, but he doesn't understand anything. So let's move. So he's the one who's driving, he's negative. There's another term which people often get confused, cost control versus austerity. Is there a difference? To me, there is. Austerity is done with an intent to ensure survival, and normally it's one-off exercise, like what we face in Greece and what they've done in the last couple of years. It's more to do with survival. Now, normally, I don't think an organization would resort to austerity measures because then your very going concern concept is in doubt. And the cost control, It ensures survival with corrective actions to ensure revival. So there's a difference. Cost control is comparatively less intense than austerity, and the underpinning objective is that the organization turns around. That's the reason you do cost control. So not the austerity, all right? Cost control process and key ingredients. Now, various organizations have various methods to do it, but the one where I was successful was something we created a cost control committee approved by the board, which had me as the CFO, then we had the marketing head, then we had the production head, and then we had the HR head. And then the idea was to keep interacting with everyone in the company. But what exactly is cost control? How do we go about? And that's the key line here, as you see. Cost in line with what my P&L account can afford. Review of cost of sales, direct cost, indirect cost, fixed and variable. Now, we all know these costs, so I won't dwell into what is fixed and what is variable. The essential point is, as a CFO, it is incumbent on us to tell the cost control committee and to tell the management that this is what my P&L can afford. This is what my P&L cannot afford. If my employment cost is far more in terms to sales, I can't afford it. So therefore, the first exercise is to relate every cost element and see what your P&L can afford. Then, cost control process and key ingredients. So you got to have a core committee, champions, a team exercise. Now that's where I felt, as I said initially, I have also seen a failure in this exercise. And that is where I failed in one of my ventures, because there was a problem in creation of a core committee. The committee had some people who were not in line with the overall objectives of the cost control. So it didn't work through. It lacked the support from the ownership as well. And this is key. It needs to be a one-time exercise with regular monitoring of target cost control versus the actual cost control achieved. Now, one of the places where I succeeded was this. We implemented the cost control, and then we monitored. And that's where many of the organizations fail. They do it and say goodbye. No. It is essential in the current financial times that as a CFO, we drive the process and ensure that there is a discussion with the board and the management to know what is my target cost versus what I have achieved. And as I will take you through a live example as a case study, you will see how important this particular point is. All right, let's move. Cost reduction. There are a few concepts which people talk about, and I would like to run through it. Variable and fixed cost. Now, in my understanding, you have a method of minimal variable pricing model. So long as you're able to recover the fixed cost, that is something which you can't ignore when you're deciding about the numbers. Some of the cost reduction can involve outsourcing. I remember one of the places where we succeeded was we outsourced the complete freight forwarding function. The reason was a couple of people in the procurement team, we found they didn't have a job. So we said, look, you go ahead, do the custom clearing. And it made sense. We saved a lot of money. So there you are, outsource. Cushion everything. So as a cost control committee member, you got a cushion. Every expenses needs to be cushioned. False economies and tight budgets. Anyone wants to take a call? What is this? False economies and tight budgets. What is it? Anyone wants to take a call? What is it? False economies? Anyone? All right. What happens is, when you do cost control, at times the cost control fails because you believe you got to save every single dirham. without realizing the cascading implications of this. For example, you say, look, I want to save the cost for the finance department. I don't want to hire a chartered accountant. I want to hire an accountant, okay? Pay him 6,000, 7,000 dirhams, and I save something like, what about 10, 12,000? But where you make an error is, in your endeavor to save the money, you end up losing more. So the technical term is false economies. So be aware, as CFOs, we shouldn't overdo it. We shouldn't overdo it. Else again, the cost control will fail down. All right? Don't cut your way to growth. The cost control experts say you can trim the fat. You can trim the fat, but it cannot cut to muscle and bones. Let me repeat. You can trim the fat, but you cannot cut on the bones and the muscles, which means in your endeavor again to somehow achieve the revenue increase, to somehow get a better P&L, don't engage in a situation where you cut everything, because you may make a profit today, quarter, 6 months down the line, you have the same problem. All right? That is, okay, here it is. This is very interesting, a case study. And I'm party to it, and I always look at this case study with, there's so many challenges here, and I would share this with you. This business model essentially was a manufacturing cum installation. All right? So we used to have factories here, and then we'll have factories in Saudi and Qatar, different locations. So in one of the years, as I was presenting the board, the business plan, myself, CFO, CEO, and the GM, we worked out the plan, put to the chairman and the board, this is how we are going to end the next year, and I distinctly remember, because it is a bad memory, but I remember. The chairman and the board looked at the business plan and asked me, who has worked out this business plan? I said, this team of CEO, the GM has worked out. He threw the papers at me and said, are we here to lose money? I better close the business. If you're going to give me a business plan forecast of a loss, get lost. So there you are. Core team of CEO, CFO, GM looked at every item. So once we were given the bashing by the board and the chairman, the only option left to us as CEO, CFO, and GM was to look at each and every item. And this is what we did. We looked at employment cost. We looked at value engineering at the gross level of business, which is at the cost of sales level. And then we looked at the overheads. What that means is this. This is it. I'll give you 30 seconds to have a look at what this worksheet is. Essentially, this is talking about a manpower reduction summary. As I said, once we got a bashing from our chairman, 3 of us sat down and worked on it. This is the first step we did. You can see on the left-hand side, a lot of departments, admin, HSE, mechanical, so on and so forth. You have the present number of people. You have the present cost as of October of that year. And then we had a business plan which was not acceptable. So then we went for a reduction. And as you will see there, I don't know if this is working or not, pointer. Yeah, it is. This was 37% was something which me, the CEO and the GM felt was needed to ensure what the chairman wanted. But then, if you see, this was the status of 28 December. We started working on it. And then we found that we could get some reduction. So to the extent of 31%, we could achieve the cost savings. And you can see various departments. As I said, it's a manufacturing company. So admin, HSE, mechanical, production, and so on and so forth. So the message is the same team, which initially said they can't do it, eventually ended up doing it. Why they did it? Let's look at it. How could they do that? Okay. You had various people there. Again, same departments. Some of the people were shifted to Saudi. Some of the people were shifted to Qatar. Then we had a central team. So a lot of fat was there, which we shifted to the central team. And there I go back. Trim the fat. Don't cut the bones and the muscles. So this is what we did further. We also looked at a couple of other actions. We looked at the incentive packages. We looked at We also had a look at the people who were there in the central office team. And this is interesting because most of the cost control exercises fail because invariably the ownership finds it very easy to remove the people. That's the easiest job. But where they conveniently forget is the cost lying at your administration end. And that's what we did. Look at here. Sorry. You have a budgeted production cost. So in so figure, the presented budgeted cost was 26 cubic meter. We wanted to achieve target cost of 16. Therefore, we were looking for a cost reduction of 10 dirhams on an administration cost. And what we did, few steps, I'll just go through it. Effective, since we went for the payroll reduction, there is a consequence reduction in the visa and other cost. Land renewal was stopped. Workers were shifted to new locations. Then you will see somewhere closure of Jablali plant, we said. Then so we did whatever was possible. We shifted some people to DIP, if I remember correctly. So we did all those actions, and then we put a target timeline. And there's an interesting thing here which you should make a note. A responsible person. We obviously assign responsibilities. Who is going to mentor it? Because otherwise, the cost control fails again. And there you are. So we reduced the cost, as you will see somewhere 6.83 million, and good savings achieved in terms of administration. All right, operational cost reduction. At the beginning I said, you achieve cost reduction also at the gross level, which is at the cost of sales. Reduce cost of sales, increase revenue generation. This is what we did. Again, let's go back. You had a budgeted cost of 37, targeted cost of 33. We wanted to achieve 4 dirhams per cubic meter reduction. And that's what we did. We said, remove one of the generators from one plant. We said, generator of off-hiring, we will remove generator and transfer to another plant. Single shift to run several plants, because we had a lot of plants across UAE, across Qatar, across Saudi. So we said, we will run single shift. Merging of departments. Diesel cost optimization. So these were all the various costs which we involved other people as well, because it cannot be an exercise between the CFO, the CEO, and the GM. So obviously, we had to involve all the other people. For example, for diesel cost consumption, I brought my factory manager in, all right, because his concurrence is needed. Because one of the things we must remember is the reason why cost control fails is when you don't take the team on board. And as I said, once we go on the reason, you would have a better clarity on this. So let's move. Raw material engineering cost reduction. Typically, this is an area where most of the CFOs believe it is not in their control. They just say, look, cost of sales in a manufacturing business model is beyond their control because they are not the manufacturing experts. Look at what we did. We went, myself and our GM went, met a couple of suppliers, and we said, look, we are going to renegotiate the payment terms. We put a target date, and we had some savings there. Sole supply agreement. We said, look, we are going to engage with few suppliers, and let's have one-to-one relationship with them, rather than having 5 people. We saved something in those costs. And what we further did, aggregate cost reduction with cost substitution. Anyone wants to make an attempt? What does this mean? Aggregate cost reduction with cost substitution. What we did was, we realized to get the best out of it, there is a possibility that we may get a particular product which can come at a cheaper price than what we're using. Technically, we call it cost optimization. Now, most of these things are generally not discussed, but when it's a question of survival, you do all these things, which is what technically we call it cost optimization. So again, we had to have a responsible person, cost reduction. And so let's just revisit this case study again. We had a problem with the board. The chairman threw papers on us. We went back, and we almost reached 85% of what the board wanted from us, which obviously means that either we were not sincere when we prepared the business plan, or the board pushed us to the wall and said, look, if you don't do it, better leave us. Okay? A very significant take from this exercise which I learned. Okay, this is my key slide. which I like to focus. Why cost controls fail? Now, during the last half an hour, you would have shared various of the experiences. But somewhere down the line, we need to look at each and every point here. Why cost controls fail? Lack of focus. It is supposedly considered to be another routine exercise. It is as if you are doing one more exercise, which is not the case. A cost control, a strategic cost control, without killing the business initiatives and operations, can never be a one-off, can never be another exercise. It has to be a focused exercise. So, one of the organizations where I failed because we lacked focus, we treated this as any other procedure. Complete support from the ownership message. Now, this is, since I worked with the families throughout, I know. This is significant. This is the most significant point where the cost controls fail. If the CFO and the core committee team does not have the full support from the ownership, take it from me, this will never be a success. This will never be a success. Therefore, you've got to ensure that the core committee and the CFO and the CEO has the support from the board. Tacit, direct support, both. Both ways you need that support. Anticipation of quick results from the exercise. This is what the owners expect. They believe that once the cost control committee is in place, you have the results as of yesterday. Never happens. Never happens. Therefore, as a CFO, it's necessary for us to tell the ownership, look, we are going to do this exercise, but hold on, have patience. Don't expect results from day one. Give us time to materialize it. And that's where sometimes these fail. Wrong selection of champions and core team. I mentioned to you in one of my reasons of where I faced failure, there was a problem in selecting the core team itself. We were fighting with each other instead of working towards the cost control. Very important, the cost control team has to have one focus, no fights. Okay, next, lack of persistence and inept decision making. I'm a firm believer, never give up in life. Never ever give up in life. I'm a firm believer in life, keep persisting, you will succeed. Keep persisting. And that's where, during the process, as it's a difficult process, people in the core committee tend to lose focus, and therefore it becomes an inept decision making, and because you lose the persistence. Too much emphasis on achieving consensus and trying to make everyone happy. Cost controls will never succeed if you try to have everyone on the board and everyone being happy. You can't make it. You can't make everyone happy. And the earlier the message goes to everyone in the organization, better it is. Because if you try to make everyone happy, it will not work. Cost control exercise is not time-bound and goes in fits and starts in piecemeal. I would give a medical example here, very critical. You have to do this exercise one time, one go. It is like this. You approach a doctor, and doctor tells you, go for surgery. You better go for surgery and come out successfully. Okay? This is how I compare. If you have to be successful in cost control, follow the doctor, what the doctor says, do it one time. Don't keep it on 5 days, then take a break, then take further 15 days. It won't work. All right? Lack of support from key internal stakeholders, employees. There will always be some employees who don't support you. But the problem is, if the key employees don't support you, you again fail. All right, so these are some very practical reasoning which I felt why I succeeded twice and why I failed once. And something which, and this is the last slide, it says, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. This is all as professionals, as all CFOs, we need to remember. If we talk only book, if we talk only textbook, we won't succeed. Who is in the position to adapt to the situation will succeed. And therefore, when we are running this cost control procedures, we have to always keep believing that there is a need for a change. And if you go back to my first slide, I said it is scary when you talk of a change. But that is what this process needs. So I'm through with it. Of course, my coordinates.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your experience. I have a question here. Of course, with this initiative of cost reduction brings greatest challenge from the employees and as well as resistance. So can you share any innovative way of how to manage the resistance from the employees in such a way that you engaged all the employees in this whole process?
Yeah. There are two methods. One is a ruthless method, and I'll first go to the ruthless method, then I will go to the other method. The first is like this. When this exercise starts, you will come to know very soon there are some employees who are not in line with you. Better take out that cancer from the body. Doesn't help. Take it out. Throw them out. And that's a ruthless approach, which has succeeded in one of my organizations, because we realized there were constant people who were cribbing constantly. We realized we better take them out. That's the first option. Second, you find, yes, there are people who have genuine concerns, but who are with you. Engage them. Engage them. Be transparent. I'm not telling you to share your P&L minus or plus figure, but tell them, look, we are a family. We have a problem to tackle. And as a family member, these are the actions which we will be taking, A, B, C. And trust me, 8 out of 10 employees will toe your line. That's my answer to you.
Thank you very much, first, for your case. And secondly, I have a question. Did I get the right impression that it's really one-off exercise, or you assume once you got through the transformation, you will continuously support this process?
Well, what I said was, and I go back to my medical example, cost control to me is like a surgery. You're suffering from something. You go to the doctor says, go for surgery, you go for it, and come out of it. Doesn't mean that post-surgery, you are a free bird. No, you are not. You're supposed to take care of your body. Same logic here. Cost control, in my opinion, is a one-off exercise. But the moment you have achieved the cost control, it is equally important that you keep monitoring it, keep going to the doctor as and when needed, and keep making remedial actions if required. That is what should be the right way of looking at it.
Let's take one last question.
Sure.
Does anybody? That's it. Thank you very much, Anand.
Thank you.
Hi. What is the way of remembering your previous students?
What is the view of remembering my previous students?
Yeah.
What has that to do with this?
Just memorizing you to me.
Anyway, the reason what he's asked is, I've also been a corporate trainer and a financial consultant, and I've also taken classes for ACCA, CPA for the last 10 years. He happens to be my student, but the question is irrelevant in the present context. I'll better answer you outside. Yeah, it's relevant to the present context.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.